I've been making miniatures since about 2007. I started working traditionally with epoxy and polymer clays, and since then have made the transition into digital and worked on more and more projects. Been able to work with people that just incredible people that are doing incredible things. I've been really lucky to be a part of some of the projects that I've worked on over the years, and it certainly didn't happen overnight. It's certainly been a process of working hard over a long period of time. So in that respect, so I'm really proud of what I've been able to do in the miniatures industry. With that said, though, there's still a lot more to do. So let's do it. I think the thing that inspired the creation, the impetus to create what we did, was to take like a deeper dive, so to speak, into some of the races and some of the characters that normally don't get as much love within your role-playing games. For example, like taking a closer look at the frogkin, like maybe in a typical like in a typical D&D like adventure, you may come into contact with like a couple like weirdo frogkin, and this was like a great opportunity for us to be like, who are these weirdo frogkin? Like, how can we like really like flesh them out and like really like focus on their character and get like different like different aspects of who they are and what they are. And so in that respect, like I really enjoyed that. We got some like super grumpy like frogkin, and we got some like really like elated, happy frogkin. And on the mouse folk side, being able to make them like a very sort of almost like high medieval sort of style. We have like some mousekin that like right before they went to pick up their bow, maybe they were at like the hairstylist and they just got like their sick coif done, and then there's the Fungonites, which are of course just weird and gross, and that's about it. That's as really as far as they go. I had a lot of fun making those guys. And then you have the dark dwarves, which, their whole thing is that they're just very sharp and pointy, and like, we wanted to stay away from doing things like, having braids and stuff like that, things that would indicate that they invest their time in doing orderly, like, patient things. Like, no, like when a dark dwarf has 5 minutes free, he's making something sharp, like anything. Like, you got a basketball, he's gonna make it sharp. Like, you got some fruit, he's gonna sharpen it up. And so in that respect, just fleshing out all of these different races and giving them our own different spin on them, I felt was really cool. So that, priority one was to make them recognizable and usable for people, but then priority two was to make them just a little bit different than maybe what people are used to seeing, to making them something that not only like we put our own personal imprint into, our own personal soul into, but then also hopefully something that that other people could relate to and respect, like a new, fresh take on things. There's a couple different paths. There's not one right answer for this, but the typical paths, I will say, the typical paths that takes is one, either intense planning that comes from tons of experience and you know, and involves a lot of hard work, starting off with a very rough concept and you know, hammering that out into something more concrete, and then taking that idea and then having someone like a concept artist like further flesh that out, going through iterations. Then at that point, you know, approving that, going into the sculpt, going through iterations on that, further developing that until you finally wind up with a final product. And you know, in that path, there's just a lot of hammering, a lot of like tinkering, a lot of like tweaking, and a lot of things go into making like, you know, a really like solid showroom type product. And that is, you know, I would say that that's like a majority of the paths, but sometimes it will just be an inspiration. Sometimes it will just happen. And it's, you know, it's almost just like flying. You have the inspiration, you catch it under your wings, and you just take off. And then by the end of it, you just have a final product. And, you know, unfortunately, that's not how it always goes. You know, to be honest, sometimes that doesn't always make for the best product, but it certainly makes for a fun process. People should support this campaign because, well, it's really cool. We made a lot of really cool miniatures. A lot of people invested a lot of time, a lot of their experience into making some really cool stuff that I want, stuff that I think is really cool. And you know, I have high standards for these kind of things. But ultimately, I mean, beyond just like what we put into it and what we want, obviously we put a lot into it. We want it to be successful. You know, we want other people to be able to recognize that and appreciate that. And sure, like we hope that that's the case. But you know, just in a practical sense, I feel like that there's just a lot of use for these things. Again, like being able to incorporate these into your Dungeons and Dragons games, any role-playing game for that matter, being able to incorporate these things and, you know, using them to provide an inspiration into going someplace where you wouldn't normally go. You know, going deeper into like frogkin territory than you've ever taken your adventures before, or like going deeper in, you know, into the dark dwarves' depths and seeing like just how sharp that they can get, or you know, taking it even deeper into the fungonite realm where you may not want to go, but now you've got these cool miniatures and now you definitely want to go there. My favorite miniature is the Frog Assassin. He's the guy. He's got his tongue hanging out. He's got the two daggers and he's like jumping off of a rock. And I love him because he's like obviously very deadly. He's obviously very agile. He's a cold-blooded killer. But he's also just happy. He has this joyful look on his face with his tongue out like, ah, like that. And yeah, I absolutely love it. Well, two things that I would like to see fight would be the Sovereign from our Fungonite range of miniatures and the Big Boss from our Frogkin miniatures range. I'd like to see those two go at it because they look really, really super cool. I really, really like the both of them. Of course, the Fungonite would win between the two because I sculpted it. I mean, the other one's great. Don't get me wrong. But you know, I gotta stick with my boy.
All right.